Every day she come over and Marcellus knock on the door and I look out the window and see,
that it can be two other he was sleeping with.
Wait, her family member posted this on Facebook.
I had my clothes on.
No, you did
Okay,
not.
so pajamas or no pajamas? Were you intimate with this guy? You said it's your new friend.
I was intimate, yes.
This might be the most startling opening to a paternity case Judge Lauren has ever presided over. Ms. Galloway became pregnant at 14 years old and is here to prove that Mr. Harris is the father of her twins.
Ms. Galloway, you say you became pregnant with your first child at 14 years old.
Mr. Harris became a father at the age of 12. Read that again slowly because the courtroom certainly needed a moment when it landed. Two children raising a question that should never have existed in the first place, and Judge Lauren is the one who has to untangle it.
Even with that young start, you maintain that all your children know and have been accepted by their fathers until now.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Harris tells the court there was no relationship between them in any real sense. What happened was a single encounter without any emotional attachment or ongoing connection behind it. Ms. Galloway's version shares some overlap with his but diverges in ways that matter to the case.
Drop his kids off, and Mr. Harris here helped me to the door with my groceries. And he said, so when you gonna let me in the house?
The encounter took place inside a van, and the setting alone tells you something about the circumstances surrounding two very young people making decisions with consequences neither of them was remotely equipped to handle. Question of what exactly happened in that van is already a point of disagreement before the deeper issues even surface.
I said, what you talking about? He said, when you gonna let me come over? I said, the only time you're gonna come over is if we're having a Bible.
The location where all of this originated is a detail that Judge Lauren cannot move past without acknowledging. This situation started at a church, a setting that carries its own particular weight when placed next to the events being described in that courtroom.
You did not use protection.
No, we did not use protection, and it was like maybe 3 minutes, and then he was like, okay, I have to use the
3 minutes,
restroom.
45 minutes.
Ms. Galloway says the first night in the van did not result in anything physical. Mr. Harris remembers it differently and says they were intimate. The contradiction between their accounts of the same night is the first of several that make this case resistant to any clean and simple reading of the facts.
You mean
45 minutes?
You mean 4 to 5
saying-
minutes?
you saying
Because it was
30
not no 4 to 5
okay.
minutes.
Well, it was long enough to potentially produce two beautiful babies.
Ms. Galloway's explanation for what followed the first encounter is one of the more unexpected pieces of testimony this case produces. She tells the court that she found the first experience unsatisfactory and that she chose to give him another opportunity to improve on it.
So January 18th is when I took the home pregnancy test. And that's when I sent him the text message and the pictures. Now, right after that, I went to the emergency room.
That reasoning lands in the courtroom with a reaction that Judge Lauren does not attempt to fully suppress. Two very young people making these kinds of decisions in a church van while apparently lacking any adult guidance is a situation with layers of failure that extend well beyond the two teenagers at the center of it.
And she said that you have 2 babies. And I'm like, okay, 2 babies, you got the wrong person. She was like, no, this is you. You're 10 weeks long now.
The pregnancy announcement reached Mr. Harris through 2 channels that he and Ms. Galloway do not agree on. She says she called him directly when she found out she was expecting. He says the news arrived through a Facebook post rather than a personal conversation.
He's a musician. He plays the keyboard.
And Lonnie
he
is
had a
Mr.
relationship-
Samuel.
Right, Mr. Lonnie Samuel.
And he's here in court with us as well.
I'm so glad.
The disagreement about something as basic as how he learned about the pregnancy adds to a pattern of contradictions that runs through every part of this case. 2 people who were present for the same events cannot find common ground on a single significant detail, and that makes the court's job significantly harder.
Because Mr. Samuel, actually Mr. Samuel, me and Mr. Samuel was cool until we fell out behind a woman.
Mr. Harris introduces another name into the case, another young man from the same church who he claims was also involved with Ms. Galloway during this period. He describes this person as someone who played piano at the church and suggests the connection between him and Ms. Galloway extended beyond music.
Are copies of the children's birth certificate.
Correct, Your Honor.
Where the father's information is
not
blank.
He also adds that this individual was reportedly involved with multiple other young women from the same congregation. The portrait of this particular church community that emerges across the testimony is one that raises serious questions about the level of supervision present in that environment during this entire period.
Correct.
Space intentionally left blank.
Right.
If
She
you
had an
are,
option to
if
put
he's
name right
acting
there
how
and
he's
then
acting,
Duval
I'm trying to
County
give him the
would have
opportunity
contacted
to
me and
even
said,
go.
Mr. Harris, we need you to come do a DNA test for these children.
Mr. Harris's name is absent from the twins' birth certificate, and he offers a specific reason for that absence. He says it was left off because Ms. Galloway herself did not know with certainty who the father was.
Think about it. Ray is known as being a hoe.
Okay, let's speak respectfully. Say it nicely.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Okay, well, he's known for being a dog.
At the time the document was filed, Ms. Galloway does not appear to accept that characterization as accurate. The birth certificate becomes another contested piece of this case alongside the ban, the Facebook post, and the identity of the other man. Everything in this hearing is disputed, and the DNA result is the only participant that is not going to offer a competing version of events.
I was what are you? Your wife know you here right now? Your wife even know you down here right now.
We had the same past.
The other man from the church appears in the courtroom, and his testimony immediately shifts the dynamic of the entire proceeding. He tells the court he had no sexual relationship with Ms. Galloway whatsoever and denies any biological connection to the twins.
Girl, you cannot deny that child, Your Honor. Then when the kids got sick, she tell me, I be like, where's Mr. Harris? Oh.
His explanation for his involvement in the children's lives is straightforward. He saw two children who needed someone to show up for them, and he stepped into that role because Mr. Harris was not present or contributing in any meaningful way. He frames himself as someone who acted out of care for the children rather than any claim to paternity.
Lonnie, if you knew that, why you ain't never hit me in the inbox, Lonnie?
Think about it. Now you know we
fell out over a woman. Come on, let's be real.
All right, let's talk one at a time. I want to understand this.
Courtroom is now processing competing accounts from two men, one who is denying everything and one who is denying a sexual connection while acknowledging an involved presence in the children's lives. Judge Lauren has been listening to testimony that circles back on itself repeatedly without producing a clean or consistent narrative from any direction.
Just like that, if you want to know something, tell her to give me a DNA test and we can go from there. Then I hung up the phone on her. A gospel rapper called me and asked me.
Like and subscribe, because the DNA result in a case this tangled is going to surprise at least one person in that room who thought they already knew the answer. The science does not care about Facebook posts, church fans, or competing stories. It only carries the truth.
Man, what's going on with you and her, man? You denying the kids like that, you going in like that. It made me look like a bad person. The person feel like, what I'm gonna pay you some money for when you ain't even taking care of your own responsibility.
Judge Lauren brings the case to its necessary conclusion after hearing a set of testimonies that have collectively painted a picture of young people left without adequate guidance during a period of their lives when guidance was most critically needed. The twins at the center of this case arrived in the world as a consequence of that absence.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Samuel, you are not the father.
And they deserve a confirmed biological father regardless of how chaotic the path to that confirmation has been. The result is in the envelope, and whatever it says is going to be the first honest and uncontested statement anyone has made in this courtroom today. Judge Lauren opens it, and the answer finally arrives without a contradiction attached to it.
Mr. Harris, you are the twins' father.
A woman walks into court trying to correct a lie she told years ago, and the damage that lie left behind is sitting in the same room with her. Ms. Points told her ex, Mr. Rowan, he was not the father of her daughter, and now she is standing before Judge Lauren admitting that was not the truth. She wants to fix it.
You say you made the biggest mistake of your life by saying 5 words. You are not the father to the defendant.
Problem is that fixing it requires undoing years of hurt that already shaped the people involved, and some of that hurt has not forgiven her yet. This is what happens when words said in the wrong moment get to live longer than the moment that produced them.
You claim they were said only out of anger and not based in truth. You opened this case to prove to the defendant that he is your daughter Sherelle's father.
The relationship between Ms. Points and her daughter carries its own visible damage that the courtroom picks up on immediately. Whatever was said and done during the years following that original lie has left the daughter in a place that is not easily described as forgiving or open. The specific things Ms. Points communicated to her daughter about her paternity while she was growing up appear to have done lasting harm to the bond between them.
You're convinced you're not Sherelle, Ms. Points' biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And why are you convinced?
A child who grows up receiving contradictory or weaponized information about her own identity does not emerge from that unaffected, and this daughter is evidence of exactly that.
Well, not only was it the fact of what she said, I wasn't the father, it's just I was there from day one since she was born.
Mr. Rowan is not a man who walks into a courtroom carrying his feelings heavily on his face. He has a particular energy about him that the room receives with some amusement, even in the middle of a serious proceeding.
Ritual, you know, every day I get out of school, I would go home and my mom, she'd be at work and here come Miss Points.
He tells the court that he has fathered multiple children with different women, and that out of all those children, Ms. Points' daughter is the one he has never been able to feel any genuine connection to. Whether that disconnect is biological instinct or the product of the circumstances surrounding her birth is something only the DNA result can actually separate into a clean answer.
Every day she'd come over and Marcellus knock on the door and I look out the window and she,
The history between Mr. Rowan and Ms. Points goes back to their school years, and by his own account, there was something real between them during that time, real enough to produce children together. The fact that they shared children beyond this paternity dispute tells the court this was not a brief or meaningless connection.
At the hospital, baby's born. At that point, you're accepting.
Right.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
Well, Your Honor.
Something shifted at some point, and the shift produced the statement Ms. Points made telling him he was not the father. What was happening between them when she said it matters to understanding why she said it, and Judge Lauren is going to get to the bottom of that.
Birth certificates and me don't get along. She's saying I did, but
Yeah, you did.
nah, you know, I don't do birth certificates because that's like incriminating myself.
Mr. Rowan tells the court about the financial investment he made before everything fell apart. He was providing for the baby and covering costs for approximately 2 months after the birth when Ms. Points delivered the information that upended everything she told him the child was not his.
Did you feel like this is not my child and started to deny her?
I never denied her.
He stopped supporting the child at that point, and he did not sign the birth certificate. From his perspective, he was responding logically to what she told him. The court is now being asked to evaluate whether the thing she told him was true or whether it was something else dressed up as truth and deployed at a moment of conflict.
2 years into it, she told me that somebody else was the father, and I wasn't even trying to hear it. I'm like,
Ms. Points owns the mistake in open court and does not try to hide from it. She acknowledges she said what she said, and she knows she should not have. The timing and emotional context that produced the statement are now part of the record. It came from a place
I was frustrated about a whole lot of things that was going on with him, doing what he was doing out here, so, you know.
of anger rather than accurate information. And once it was out there, it took on a life that outlasted the moment. She is here trying to repair what that statement broke, but the repair requires Mr. Rowan to walk back into a situation he walked away from based entirely on her word. That is not a small ask.
And so you just decided, I'm going to say these words to hurt him.
Because I knew that's the most important thing to him, and I knew it was going to get to him.
The reason this case carries particular weight beyond the paternity question itself is what Ms. Points reveals about why she wants this resolved. She watched her own parents argue about paternity when she was growing up, and the experience of being a child inside that kind of uncertainty left a mark on her that she does not want her own children to carry.
Marcellus told her that my hair was nappy and he wanted to know if I was his daughter or not. She kept on saying
she wants her daughter to have a grandfather, someone to look toward, someone who belongs to her in a confirmed and stable way. The motivation behind her return to court is not purely about correcting the record, it is about preventing the next generation from inheriting the damage the current one created.
it's a possibility that Marcellus was my daddy.
Just a possibility that he was your dad.
Yes.
And so this was all about your hair.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then a detail surfaces in open court that reframes everything Ms. Points has been presenting. She admits that during her relationship with Mr. Rowan, she was also involved with another man. And she goes further, she acknowledges that during moments of conflict with her daughter, she would tell the child she looked like the other man.
She get mad at me, she'll tell me I look like that other guy.
Is that what you're saying, Miss Points? You saying a lot when you get mad.
Yes, I do.
Using a child's physical resemblance to a third party as ammunition in an argument is a specific kind of harm that does not disappear when the argument ends. It plants a seed in a child's mind about her own identity, and that seed has apparently been growing for years. Like and subscribe, because what Judge Lauren is about to discover takes this case somewhere nobody in that room was fully prepared for.
I do. I tend to say the wrong things Yes.
And so you said that to your daughter. You look like that other guy.
Judge Lauren decides to verify the birth certificate claim that Ms. Points made earlier in the hearing. Ms. Points told the court that Mr. Rowan had signed the birth certificate. Judge Lauren retrieves the actual document, and what it shows stops the entire proceeding. Another man's name is on that certificate, not Mr. Rowan's. Ms. Points is now standing before a judge having just been caught in a direct.
Mr. Rowan.
Yeah, ma'am.
You are not on Sherelle's birth certificate.
I know I didn't sign it.
And verifiable contradiction about a piece of legal documentation she brought up herself. The courtroom adjusts to this new information, and the already complicated picture of what the truth actually looks like in this case becomes significantly harder to assemble.
I don't do birth certificate.
But another man's name is.
The birth certificate revelation means that every version of events Ms. Points has offered to this courtroom has to be reevaluated against the possibility that there are more pieces of this story still hidden. A woman who told her ex he was not the father, who was involved with another man during the relationship.
I wanted to be.
Now you're being honest.
Yes, I am.
Sherelle, I know hearing this testimony is difficult, but how does it make you feel to hear your mother finally tell the truth?
Who used that man's name against her daughter during arguments, and who misrepresented the birth certificate, is asking the court to trust her account of paternity. Mr. Rowan sits across from her, processing a situation that keeps adding new dimensions every time he thinks he has the full picture. The DNA result is the only participant in this case that cannot be revised or contradicted.
Out of 29 years, like I'm sad.
I know it makes you sad.
Judge Lauren has heard enough to understand that the truth in this case has been handled carelessly by the one person who was responsible for protecting it. A daughter grew up inside the confusion that carelessness created and is now old enough to be aware of every layer of what was done and said around her identity.
Mr. Rowan, you are not the father.
Mr. Rowan was cut out of a child's life by a statement made in anger and is only now being invited back by the same person who shut the door. The DNA result does not fix the years that passed or the words that were spoken, but it does give everyone in that room one honest and uncontested fact to build whatever comes next on top of.
No.
A woman stands before Judge Lauren admitting she does not know who fathered her child because she chose revenge over restraint, and now the consequences have followed her into a courtroom. Ms. Greer found out that Mr. Thompson had been unfaithful, and her response was to find a man on a dating site and sleep with him without protection. That decision answered nothing about the original betrayal and created an entirely new and more complicated problem. Mr. Thompson is standing across from her, and his position on what happens if the child turns out to be his is unusually direct. He wants full custody. This case is already carrying more weight than the average paternity dispute before the first real question gets asked.
Mother of 1-year-old Lanaya, you say you regret cheating on the defendant, Mr. Thompson, as an act of revenge to hurt him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Thompson did not respond to the news of the pregnancy by stepping back or creating distance. When he found out Ms. Greer was expecting, he arranged for his family to relocate to her state so he could be present for the child.
Me and my family had moved to Tennessee, and all of a sudden I get a Facebook message from Ms. Greer saying that she's pregnant.
He showed up at the birth, stayed involved, and built a real connection with the baby over time, all without knowing that Ms. Greer had been with another man during the same period. He was operating with incomplete information, and the person who had the complete picture chose not to share it with him. That choice followed a specific and deliberate logic that the court is about to hear.
And I told her that she was lying, that I didn't believe her, so I told her to send her of the pregnancy test that she took with it.
After leaving the hospital, Ms. Greer moved directly into Mr. Thompson's home with his family. That transition tells the court something about how the situation was being managed. She accepted the stability and support of Doll.
That's about how you look. So you were there through it all.
Yes.
This very moment.
Harrying information about the paternity that she was not sharing with any of the people providing that support. Mr. Thompson's family welcomed her and invested in this child without knowing there was any question at all about whether their investment was biologically warranted. The layers of people affected by what Ms. Greer withheld extend well beyond the two people standing before Judge Lauren.
Exhausted, you all, and yet you're excited and joyful. You have no clue
No, Your Honor.
that she had slept with another man.
I didn't know nothing about it.
A social media post from someone within within Ms. Greer's own family brought additional information into Mr. Thompson's awareness, a post that suggested she had been involved with other men during the relevant period.
And one of her family members posted it on Facebook about that the baby's not mine.
Ms. Greer's explanation for the post is that her family members were motivated by jealousy rather than any desire to share the truth. The courtroom processes that explanation alongside the reality that what the post suggested turned out to have validity. Jealous people and truthful people sometimes say the same things for different reasons, and the court is not required to decide which category the family members fell into.
That it can be two other he was sleeping with.
Wait, her family member posted this on Facebook.
What Ms. Greer reveals about her original plan is one of the most difficult pieces of testimony in this entire case. She tells the court that she intended to wait until the child was over a year old before disclosing to Mr. Thompson that he might not be the father.
I didn't want to ruin the relationship that we had. And told him, he started crying. And it made me feel bad because, you know what I'm saying, this is the man I love.
The reasoning behind that timeline was to allow the attachment between him and the child to develop to a point where it could not be easily severed. She was building a bond between a man and a baby she was not certain was his, with the deliberate intention of using that bond as protection against the consequences of her earlier choices. Judge Lauren receives this information without hiding what she thinks about it.
And it just tore everything apart.
Her family member never this on Facebook.
Mr. Thompson has been the primary caretaker of this child for nearly 2 years at the time of this hearing. Ms. Greer's presence in the child's life during this period has been inconsistent, and he has been filling the gap left by her absence almost entirely on his own.
Well, it hurts me a lot because I really want to be her father.
He tells Judge Lauren that if the DNA result excludes him biologically, the situation becomes something he does not know how to process after the investment he has already made. 2 years of showing up for a child who may not share his biology is not a small thing to be standing on the edge of losing, and the courtroom hears the weight of that reality in how he says it.
Because I've been taking care of her, finna be 2 years. She's been living with me for the last 3 months.
The second man from the dating site encounter is brought before the court, and his testimony introduces details that shift the picture considerably. He tells Judge Lauren that Ms. Greer misrepresented her age when she came to his home and also denied having a boyfriend at the time.
The third time we did not use the condom. She stayed over my house the whole weekend. In a way, her and my sister became close friends.
He was making decisions about the situation without accurate information because she was not providing it. His arrival in the courtroom carrying these specific pieces of information reveals that the pattern of withholding and misrepresenting facts was not limited to what Ms. Greer did to Mr. Thompson. It extended to how she handled this second man as well.
And ended up hanging out and conversating with each other. Okay, a few weeks after that, I found out she was pregnant.
Then the case takes a turn that nobody in the room was fully prepared for. A third man enters the proceedings, and ex of Ms. Greer's and his presence immediately expands the biological question beyond the 2 men the court had been focused on. His testimony adds details that further complicate the timeline and the landscape of who Ms. Greer was involved with and when.
I found this on Facebook where she hooked up with another dude. Is it not me in the picture or Mr. Thompson in the picture?
Like and subscribe, because Judge Lauren is holding results that are going to answer only some of the questions this case has generated, and the answers may not land where anyone expects them to. Ms. Greer insists the father is one of the 2 men standing before the court, but the third presence makes that assurance feel less solid than it did when she made it.
Hey, but Ed, that's my ex-boyfriend, so
baby,
he's not Lanaya daddy.
Ms. Greer tells Judge Lauren that she is certain the biological father is one of the 2 men who were tested, and she holds that position through everything that has been thrown at it in this courtroom. The certainty she is projecting sits awkwardly against the pattern of decisions and omissions that the hearing has revealed one by one. A woman who planned to delay a disclosure, who misrepresented her situation to at least one of the men involved, and whose own family members felt moved to post about the situation publicly, is asking the court to trust her conviction about paternity. The DNA result is the only voice in this room that trust is not required to believe.
This man in this picture, you say that's your ex-boyfriend?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you in a relationship with him during the time you also weren't having sexual relations with and Mr. Tolles?
No, Your Honor.
Judge Lauren has what she needs, and the courtroom is ready Lacey for the one honest moment this case has been building towards since it began. Mr. Thompson has given 2 years of his life to a child while carrying the growing awareness that the ground beneath that commitment might not be solid. Ms. Greer has been carrying secrets that kept getting heavier the longer she held them. The results are in, and whatever they reveal will either give Mr. Thompson the confirmation he needs to formalize what he has already built or hand this case a conclusion that leaves more open than it closes. Judge Lauren reads the result and the courtroom finally gets the truth it came here for.
That her biological father is Thompson.
25 years of paying child support on a child you were never certain was yours is not a small thing to carry into a courtroom. That is exactly what Mr. Lacey has been living with, and today he is finally going to get the answer the state never required before making him a legal father.
Court to prove to your ex-boyfriend, Mr. Lacey, that he is the biological father of your adult son, Trayvon Lacey.
Trayvon is standing in that same courtroom as a grown man who has spent his entire life inside this unresolved question. His mother is certain. Mr. Lacey says the math never added up from the beginning, and the receipts for over $30,000 in support payments are sitting in evidence as proof that whatever the truth is, it has been expensive.
You state that the defendant has been an absentee father.
The legal paternity was established without Mr. Lacey's presence or signature. He was incarcerated when Trayvon was born, and his name was provided to the hospital by the mother and typed onto the documentation without him physically there to confirm or deny anything.
Between 3 and 6 months years old, I received a court paper to go to state of Ohio.
State then treated that name as the legal determination, and child support obligations followed from it automatic. Two completely different accounts exist of what happened regarding a DNA test that was apparently offered at some point. She says he declined it. He says that is not an accurate account of what occurred. Either way, the money kept coming out of his pocket for decades while the doubt kept living inside his head.
Child support court, and me and Miss Torre, we did both appear at the child support court.
The other man entered this story through a sequence of events that the courtroom was not fully prepared for in its specificity. The two of them met on a public bus, and she sent her child over to him with her phone number written down. He eventually moved into her apartment. Then he disappeared on a trip, and while he was gone...
A real question of paternity that both sides acknowledge. You presented this evidence to the court.
She became involved with someone else. When he returned, he found another man already living in the space he had occupied. That other man, the one who moved in during his absence, is the person at the center of the paternity question that has defined the last 25 years of multiple people's lives.
Which indicates that you
owe
$37,200 and some odd dollars in child support, which you have
knocked it down to 5.
The mother's argument rests entirely on timing. She tells the court she was already between 12 and 14 weeks pregnant before her involvement with the other man began. If her timeline is accurate, the conception predates that relationship entirely and points back to Mr. Lacey. Mr. Lacey says another man was in the picture.
You know, Miss Torre, I looked at her and said, nice looking young lady. You know, maybe we can get together. You know?
And that when he raised the question, nobody pursued a DNA test to settle it. Instead, the other man looked at the child, decided based on visual inspection alone that the baby was not his, and walked away from the question without any scientific confirmation. A visual check is not a paternity test, and the court is very aware of that distinction.
Mr. Ray, you don't remember sending your son up with the phone number?
Your Honor, yes, I do remember meeting Mr. Lacey, and partially that is true.
Over $30,000 in child support payments left Mr. Lacey's finances over the course of these 25 years. That figure is not abstract. It represents decades of financial obligation attached to a biological question.
He had on his own clothes, first of all. He had on a pair of pants. He didn't have on a shirt.
Pajama pants.
He didn't have on a shirt,
blue,
but he did have his own clothes on.
That was never properly resolved when it should have been. He carried the doubt alongside the payments, and neither the doubt nor the payments stopped. Trayvon has been growing up during this entire period aware that his existence was contested in some way, and today he is old enough to stand in that courtroom and speak for himself about what that cost him personally.
I had my clothes on.
No,
okay, so pajamas or no pajamas? Were you intimate with this guy? You said it's your new friend.
I was intimate, yes.
Trayvon's presence in the room shifts the entire emotional register of this hearing the moment he begins to speak. He does not come forward with anger or accusation. He arrives with a quiet steadiness that reads as someone who has processed this situation over a long time and arrived somewhere past the loudest version of his feelings.
You've been very quiet listening to this testimony, and I know some of it's probably difficult, son. Trayvon, do you have something you'd like to say to the court?
He tells the people in that courtroom what it actually cost him to grow up without a confirmed father in his life. He speaks about his own children and their right to know who their grandfather is. Mr. Lacey hears every word and acknowledges the truth in it, but acknowledging and acting are not the same thing, and Judge Lauren is not finished pressing.
Yes, I want to start off by saying my mom, she was, an excellent mother.
Then a piece of information surfaces that Trayvon was not aware of before this hearing. His mother has been in contact with the other man, the one who walked away after the visual check throughout Trayvon's life. She has photographs from him. Trayvon did not know any of this was happening.
The first time I heard this, man.
He is lying.
When Miss Torrey came from the doctor, and she told me that she was pregnant.
The discovery that a potential biological connection was being maintained quietly in the background while he was growing up without a confirmed father is not a small revelation to receive in a public courtroom. Like and subscribe, because the DNA result is seconds away, and Trayvon has already said he is ready for whatever it delivers, which is more than can be said for everyone else in that room.
I asked Torrey, I said, is it mine or is it the other guy?
The envelope arrives, and the courtroom holds the weight of 25 years compressed into a single moment. Mr. Lacey paid for a quarter century. Trayvon waited for a quarter century. His mother has been certain for a quarter century, while apparently maintaining contact with an alternative possibility she never told her son about.
The case of Torrey versus Lacey. When it comes to 25-year-old,
Judge Lauren opens the result with the understanding that what she is about to read does not just answer a biological question, it determines whether $30,000 and 25 years of a man's life were spent in the right direction. Trayvon stands ready, and the room finally goes still enough for the truth to land.
Trayvon Lacey. Mr. Lacey, you are the father.
The man at the center of this case cannot be here today because he was shot and killed 3 months after his daughter Kia was born. Cassian Abraham is gone, but before he died, he asked his mother Baker to make him a promise, get the DNA test done.
It's not that she don't care. Her feelings been hurt, so she hold a guard up. It's not Miss Baker who denies.
That promise is what brought everyone into this courtroom. Hooker, the baby's mother, says she has been treated like an outsider by the extended family and has reached a point where she no longer cares what they think. But the grandmother Baker is about to provide the context that explains how a family ended up this fractured around a child who deserves nothing but love.
Kenaya, it's her family who makes my daughter feel some type of way. It's not Miss Baker.
The doubt that poisoned this situation did not originate with Baker. She has been consistent in keeping her doors open. The source of the suspicion traces back to a rumor that reached Cassian before he died. Another young man told him that someone had been involved with Hooker behind his back.
We was going to get a test done because of what the other young man said, and
What did the other young man?
That single rumor, delivered by a teenager, took root and spread through the extended family in a way that no amount of denial from Hooker has been able to fully uproot. She is standing in this courtroom furious that an unverified claim from someone with unknown motives carries more weight with this family than her own direct word about her own life.
He told Keyshawn that when he wasn't around.
Cassian was shot on a Sunday and died the following Friday. Somewhere in those days between the shooting and the end, he asked his mother to make a promise about this child. Baker is here because she made that promise, and she intends to keep it regardless of what the result delivers. His sister Latoya is also present, and she brings a perspective that the courtroom needs to sit with before passing any judgment on the family's behavior. Every time Latoya sees baby Kia, she sees her brother's absence made visible, and the grief underneath her resistance to this child is real, even if its expression has caused damage.
Maybe her perception of what other people view of her is just her perception, because she has to understand that sometimes it's hard for people to look, for me personally, to look at.
The family learned about the pregnancy through a phone call Baker made after hearing about it through the school. She called Hooker's mother directly to ask, and the pregnancy was confirmed in that conversation. What followed was a period of complicated navigation between two families trying to process grief, doubt, and a new baby simultaneously.
Why it's so important. I'm here to do what I promised my son to do. I'm not trying to do anything against any.
Baker made efforts. She welcomed the child into her home, provided food, included hooker in family gatherings, but something involving the obituary created a wound that neither side has been able to close, and Judge Lake is about to bring it fully into the open.
Body to make her feel bad. I ain't never been denying them. We never had a problem. She come stay the night when she feel like it, her and the baby.
The obituary left baby Kia's name off the list of Cassian's survivor. 2 other names were also omitted, but the baby's absence is the one that cut deepest. Baker explains that the paperwork was completed in a chaotic and grief-filled moment without her direct oversight.
My family members was in the obituary, but my baby wasn't. Y'all can keep my family member out the obituary.
Okay, first of all, slow down because I want to understand.
But Judge Lake asks LaToya directly whether the omission of the baby was accidental or deliberate, and LaToya does not retreat from the question. She answers it honestly, and what she says reframes the entire family dynamic in a single moment of unexpected transparency.
She said one of her family members was in the obituary.
But there was no mention of Kanaya.
LaToya tells the court she left the baby's name out on purpose. Her reasoning was protective. She did not want her mother to read a name in her son's obituary that might not belong there if the DNA result came back negative. She was trying to shield Baker from a potential pain, and in doing so created a different and more visible pain.
I already told, you know what I said already, Judge? Since she got left out the obituary, I have already told them.
For Hooker and the child. The intention was not cruelty, it was grief operating without enough information or enough grace. The distinction matters even if the impact was harmful, regardless of what drove the decision.
If it comes back saying Kenaya belongs to Keyshawn, I'm going directly back to the funeral home.
Baker's response to everything that has come out in this courtroom is the moment that defines this entire case. She tells Judge Lake that she will return to the funeral home and have new obituaries printed so that her granddaughter's name appears exactly where it belongs. She is keeping 2 promises in that single statement, the one she made to her dying son.
11-month-old Kenaya Abraham. The percentage of relatedness between Miss Baker, Mr. Abraham,
and an unspoken one she is making to a child who had nothing to do with any of the choices the adults around her made. The DNA result is about to arrive, and Baker has already decided that whatever it says will not change where this baby belongs in her heart.
and Kenaya Abraham is 0%.